Welcome back to the Genius Maltby channel, where we're going to discuss the news of the day through the prism of this channel anyways, and go over talking about, as you can see in the headline, some gold and silver related news, and special treat for the silver viewers out there. I get a lot of requests from you guys to do more videos discussing silver, events surrounding silver coins and silver bullion and so on. So today we're throwing you a treat, and we're doing the whole first part of this video on silver. I do hold some silver. I like silver. Very historic metal, as you will see in a moment, and as you can see by the first slide up there. But let's get right into it here. What you're looking at there is a tetradrachm from ancient Greece. And headline caught my eye here. It says, "Silver tetradrachms of Athens were the original trade coins." If you want to get a really cool little lesson in history and in monetary trade, coinage, go back to ancient Greece, read about it, look it up, and just read about some of those early coins that the Greeks distributed around the globe and helped facilitate world trade, even back then during those what you would call primitive times. Pretty amazing stuff. So we will read it here real quick. During the second half of the 5th century, Athens produced an enormous quantity of silver tetradrachma. Tapping its mines in Larion and the constant stream of tribute it received from the cities of the Delian League, tens of millions of tetradrachms were struck. The coins served as an international currency prior to the time of Alexander, and were used not only to pay for goods and services, but as a trade good in themselves, according to Nomos. Brief interjection here, that Nomos is an auction site house that sold a bunch of ancient coins, and that's where this article had come from. Their purity was famous, and they were often restruck into local coins, as in Sicily, or melted down to serve as the raw material for other coins or objects. The number of these coins that survive is but an infinitesimal fraction of what once existed, the firm reported in its catalog. That little fact alone there, you know how we get sidetracked on this channel. We're going to on that last little fact. I mean, there's so much stuff you could talk about just with this article, but you know, the whole fact that coins were struck down, or melted down and restruck, reformed, and that a lot of them don't exist that once exist. Think of this for a moment. Now, matter typically can't be created or destroyed, and both of these are going to hold true for gold and silver when it comes to being melted and restruck, because it happened throughout history. So when you're holding a coin in your possession, whether it's an old British sovereign or Spanish doubloon, or maybe a piece of 8, some Spanish silver, you know, you name the coin, old silver from different times in U.S. history, there are possibilities and chances that bullion bars or silver that had once been melted down, that was once a tetradrachm, could have ended up in another coin that you are now holding. There is that possibility. It does exist. The same with gold coins. You know, you might hold gold that has a pretty lurid history. You know, there's no way to tell when you're looking at that British sovereign where the gold in it exactly could have come from. Yeah, it could. If it's an Australian struck one, it could have come from Australia, but from a mine there. But there are coins in all of our possession that likely contain metals that and the metal of which had an interesting path to end up in that coin in our possession. So it's just something to think about. I always find that interesting. Who knows where it was mined, when it was first taken out of the earth, and by who? And then what path did it go on from there in history, the story. All right, so onward. Well, let's stay here for a minute. You know, just look again at this coin and think for a moment, just in that brief 2 paragraphs in that article, what it covered there. You know, the time span in which the tetradrachms existed, the trade they facilitated, and the unit of exchange that it represented, how it basically helped create an empire and tied so much together, and was a common recognized unit of exchange with a known purity and weight. Definitely something to pay attention to, and also just the pattern in which it struck, the detail in which it was struck. You know, having an obverse and a reverse, having a face on it, and a message or meaning. You know, you have the owl representing Athena or Athens, the goddess of wisdom, on the back. It's very similar to the strikings that we do, you know, in this day and age, having mythological figures, whether it's liberty or other things, inscribed into our coinage. And of course, them being round with a face of a leader typically on them, which, as you know, if you've watched some of my earlier videos, I do disagree with putting living leaders, even dead leaders, any human for that matter, on a coin. It's just a personal thing I have. I believe it ties us too closely to empire and the worship of presidents and things of that nature. But that's another topic, and it's in another video if you've been on this channel for a while. If not, you can go back and find it. Or I'll try to find it and put a link in here for you on that video and my thoughts there. All right. So silver definitely has a long history with humans as an item of exchange and trade, and it continues. In spite of the attempts of other agents in the financial world and the propaganda that we receive telling us that metals are worthless and we shouldn't hold them or own them. But silver bullion coins are scarce, and prices don't show it. Now, a lot of you are quite aware of some of the experts out there that we all share and read, whether it's Eric Sprott, Mike Maloney, some of those other individuals. But there is definitely something conflicting when it comes to looking at silver prices, where they are, where they've been, looking at the charts of it dropping over the last few years, but then overlaying that with the amount of demand we all see for silver, the scarcity of silver, the demand, the industrial applications in which it's consumed and destroyed, or basically vaporized and atomized. You know, there's something disconnecting there. It's you know, some people call it a conspiracy. Others say the price is being suppressed by giant titans of the banking world like J.P. Morgan. I'm sure you're familiar with Max Kaiser's statements on that, and urging us to all buy an ounce or here or there of silver to try to break J.P. Morgan's back, which, I mean, we'll see if that can ever happen. But the allure for silver exists still in all of us, in humans. It's still being purchased, it's still being traded, it's still recognized as a unit of exchange, as a valuable commodity, as a metal, a precious metal, just like it did in ancient Greece. But if you look here, silver bullion coins are so scarce that certain countries have set limits on the amount they distribute. But prices for the metal haven't budged much for their recent 6-year low. 6-year low, guys. You know what that means? Bye, bye, bye. Silver is experiencing an unprecedented industry-wide phenomenon, with strong demand for the physical metal prompting mints in certain countries to put silver bullion coins on allocation, according to the Silver Institute. In recent history, allocations have only been put into practice occasionally by the U.S. Mint. And here's a chart, if you look at it from November of 2014, so going back a year almost, look where we're at, you know, $17 an ounce, then it pops up above 18 right after January 15th. And that's pretty much where it peaked out for the last year anyway, and it's just been kind of going up and down and slowly declining. Last month we saw a pretty good low, touching almost $14 per ounce. Now we're back around almost 16. I'll have to check it later before I put the video out and see what today's current price is. But, you know, I don't like to look at metal prices on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't really affect me or the way I purchase it or my decisions. So now let's continue on. Silver prices. have yet to catch up with the strong demand for physical silver. They settled at $15.84 an ounce Thursday, not far from their 6-year low in late August, near $14 an ounce on the COMEX. This is the kind of disconnect you often see before a reversal or breakout, Sean Broderick, an editor of the Oxford Resource Explorer, said in a recent article. Now let's go on to rationing. The Royal Canadian Mint, Australia's Perth Mint, the Austrian Mint, and the British Royal Mint have all put their silver bullion coins on allocation, meaning that they are controlling the distribution of coins due to bottlenecks in the manufacturing process, according to a recent report from the Silver Institute. The U.S. Mint has allocated around 1 million silver eagles, 1 million American silver eagle bullion coins, a week for the past 3 months, selling its maximum allocation every week, U.S. Mint spokesman Adam Stump said. That means the demand, if they're selling 1 million of them every week, that means there's a portion of the population that's not getting the silver that they want, thus the demand is higher, thus the premium, or the value of silver, as you and I would both agree with talking here, I guarantee it, we'd all agree on this, that the value of silver is more, based on what we're reading right now, it has to be more than what the actual price is showing us and reflects on the screens here and at the stock exchange. All right, that's going to wrap up the silver conversation, but we could continue it on later. But I think a lot of you, we just continue it down in the comments. Where do you think silver is going? What's going on? We're going to move here on in a moment to gold, but yeah, it's very interesting. This is some interesting news on silver. I definitely am paying attention to it. I've paid attention to it, and I'm definitely encouraged to, purchase more silver bullion in these times. So we'll see where it takes us and what ends up happening. I definitely believe we will see silver much higher than the numbers we are seeing right now in the future. So that's very promising for people that are in the position to buy a large amount of silver right now. All right, gold. Gold demand in China may gain to record. There's some headlines we're going to talk about here. Gold demand in China may gain to record, Bullion Bourse says. I think, yeah, it's definitely interesting what's taking place in China as usual. There's two headlines here we're going to talk about, but that was one of them. It's just the headline. I don't want to go into the whole article, but basically to summarize it, the demand for gold in China is most likely going to break the record that was set in 2013. Without throwing a bunch of numbers up there of this amount of metric tons and this amount of metric tons and all of that, it's a lot of details of just weights and times. But in summary, you can summarize the entire article in saying that China's buying more gold now than they were back then, and they're about to set a new record in the amount of gold that they are buying. And you can interpret that for however you want. On the reasons for that, there was a recent rate adjustment in China as far as their banking is concerned. So that might be steering some funds that way. Now let's go to China Construction Bank joins London gold price auction. I thought this was even more interesting than the first article, which you'll see is why I put some pieces of it here in the video. Participation will begin on October 30th. CCB, the second Chinese bank to join the LBMA gold price. October 22nd, Reuters. China Construction Bank, CCB, will join the twice-daily electronic auction process to set the benchmark price of gold, its operator Intercontinental Exchange said in a statement on Thursday. CCB on Wednesday confirmed it would be the second Chinese company to gain access to the 138-year-old London Metal Exchange's trading floor with the acquisition of a majority stake in UK metals trading firm Metdist Trading Limited. The gold auction, which takes place each day at 10:30 and 1500 London time, sets the London Bullion Market Association gold price, a benchmark used by producers, traders, and end users globally in contracts and transactions. So there you have it. China is not only consuming more gold than, well, ever, but they're now getting involved and becoming participants in what determines the gold price. The London, the LBMA. You know, I always forget exactly. Yeah, the London Bullion Market Association. For some reason, I always want to say London Bullion Metal Association. But yeah, China's definitely becoming a bigger kid on the block and a heavy hitter in determining the values of precious metals, specifically gold. Could you imagine if China got heavily involved with silver like they did several hundred years ago when silver was their big metal? Could be interesting for silver prices the day that happens. But yeah, looks like prices from this point forward on both of these metals, as you know my opinion on that, are going to increase. It's looking very good. Every year we do a video. I don't think it's time yet, but on the outlook for the coming year. I've been wrong. I've said that, hey, last year 2015 would close with gold being higher, etc. But there's forces and influences that are far beyond my capabilities to foresee that occur on a global scale, and that tends to have quite the impact on metal prices. But I think we are always in a strong position in owning gold and silver and continuing to own, hold, and buy gold and silver bullion, especially when the direction of the world economy, world government, politics continue to go in the directions they are going. So, all right, keep stacking strong, and educate yourselves always, and don't just take my word for it. Go out there and listen to the guys that know 10 times more than I'll ever know, and read on your own, get involved in some history, and pay attention. And as always, thanks for being part of the Junior Small P channel. I know a lot of you guys hate when I say it, but we pride ourselves in being probably the most boring channel on YouTube, as you can see by our view counts. But thanks for being here, participating, throwing your comments in, and joining in the conversation that makes this channel what it is, because you guys, basically, you guys are the community that makes the Junior Small P channel go on. So just hats off to you guys. I know I don't say it enough, but thanks. You guys are the motivation, encouragement that keeps it going. The day I make a video and it gets 0 views and 0 comments is the day I stop doing this. So appreciate it. Every bit of motivation helps. All right. That's going to wrap it up for today. So thanks again. Unless something big happens, if gold goes to $4,000 an ounce this afternoon, I promise to come back and make another video. So, alrighty. Until next time. See you guys later.